Hey guys, OG Albina here, bringing you guys another episode of, me and Liv's little mini series, kind of going over predictions and things like that for the new Pokemon coming out in the Crown Tundra, which comes out this week. Today we're going to be going over Regieleki. Yesterday we did Regidrago over on Liv's channel. Tomorrow we'll be doing Calyrex over on her channel, so definitely go sub over there, go check her out in the description below. But do you want to say hi, Liv?
Hi.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's all you get. You said nothing on my channel.
Well, that's what I was expecting to happen. That's why I immediately talked after, because I wasn't going to let you get me like that. Damn it. Okay. But yeah, we are going to be talking about Regieleki today. We don't know too much about these Pokemon, but they're a lot easier to predict than the Galarian birds at the very least. But Liv, do you want to go over what we know about Regieleki?
Yeah, of course. So we know that Regieleki is an electric type. It's a pure electric type, which is honestly really cool because we don't have a lot of really solid, just pure electric types, especially not for Legends. I think it would be the first besides Arceus. Yeah, that would be the first. So that's really cool, honestly, getting a really nice pure electric mon that will hopefully be good, but I have very low hopes because it's a pure electric type. We know that it has an ability called Transistor that we know nothing about. Now, my guess is this will probably be a really bad ability, but I have hopes. I purely think it's going to be a bad ability because, again, it's a Regi. We know that it's a Regi, so its stats, while we don't know them necessarily, they're kind of pretty linear just in predictions. There's only so much you could really do with the Regis unless it happens to get like a Regigigas treatment where it's just better. So I feel like that's kind of it. Oh, it also has a move. Oh my god, I forgot the name of the move.
Thunder Cage.
Thunder Cage. So it is basically like the Fire Spin or the Whirlpool, but it's electric type. So we finally have an electric type version of that because that's what everyone wanted.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, so that's really it. This mon kind of sucks. Just off of what we know already, it's really bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said with the Regis, I don't think that it's really gonna get anything super crazy stat line wise, because like it could get that Regigigas treatment where they make it like really good stat wise and stuff like that, but being that this is like a Regigigas made mon, it should follow the pattern of Regirock and Regice at the very least. Maybe Registeel is obviously an option as well as like the middle thing, but being that there's two, I think it's always more likely that these two are gonna kind of be the 200 really high stat mons, 200s, base 80, and then two base 50s. Which is also another option. But jumping into it, though, we are going to talk about some of the moves that we could potentially think it gets. I'm going to go over offensive moves. Liv's going to go over status moves. Then we'll jump into stats and abilities and stuff like that right after, even though you can already see it on the screen. But as for notable moves, this sucks because it's an electric type. And this is why there's not too many really big notable electric types. I mean, also, they didn't really make them. But the coverage on most electric types, especially with the lack of hidden power, is pretty bad. There's pretty much an entire typing that is dedicated to walling you to the ends of the earth, and it's such a common typing in ground, obviously, being immune to your stabs. It's very hard for offensive electric types, at least in this Gen 8 environment, to thrive and do well unless they have like an energy ball, grass knot, surf in the case of like Raichu and things like that. It would be really tough for them to potentially do well, which I think is probably going to be the case with Regieleki. But as for some moves I think it could get, I think Thunderbolt and Volt Switch are a given. It's an electric type, strong, stuff like that. Rising Voltage, most electric types did get it this gen, so maybe if it's really strong, you could pair it on like a team with like a Coco or a Pincurchin or something like that. If it's a lower tier mon, you're playing, in the smoke on lower tiers and stuff like that, that could be really cool as well. I could see it potentially getting Grass Knot, and I think that would really help this thing out, at least having some kind of way to hit grounds, though I am very skeptical on it getting Grass Knot. I don't see why it would get it, but I also don't see why Zeraora gets it. And there's a couple mons that get Grass Knot. It's like, okay, well, it has Grass Knot. And again, that would be amazing if it did end up getting it, but it's going to be tough in my mind for it to, really have that as an option. Charge Beam could really be a really cool option to boost while still doing some kind of damage physically. And then a lot of the time, electric types also get moves like Shadow Ball and Flash Cannon. I could also see it potentially getting like a Psychic or something like that. Like one-off neutral moves to at least hit those things that are going to come in and try and chip, check you and stuff like that, like the Rhyperiors of the world. That would wall you if you're 90% of electric types in Gen 8, unfortunately. But again, usually they do have pretty limited move pools in most cases. But what do you think about this thing status move wise?
So Regis really don't get a lot of good status options. Again, we mentioned this in our video yesterday for Regidrago, but there's only so many things this could realistically get. I think that electric train's a pretty much given because this one is literally just pure electricity. If it didn't, honestly, that would probably be a crime. Thunderwave makes sense. All the Regis get it. Why would the electric type one not get it? Again, if it didn't get it, it would probably be a crime. Magnet Rise, this thing literally floats, and if Registeel can get Magnet Rise, this can get Magnet Rise. Calm Mind, a few Regis I believe get Calm Mind. I think they actually all get it, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's a pretty obvious pick on this one. Other options that were too big to list because a lot of these boosts have really long names. Psych Up, pretty common Regi status. And then also, actually, I think that was it. That was the only other one I couldn't fit. Wow. There's not a lot. Maybe like a rest. Well, obviously like a rest. Again, a couple weathers will probably be on there. There's really only so many options. Regis get horrible status options. And the last thing this thing is getting is any hazards that like Registeel or Regirock would get. So there's really not a lot of options. But we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're more so like it's weird because the Regis are more so seen as defensive mons, especially like Regirock as like that physically offensive wall. Registeel is that, you know, big Titan mon that you can't take down even though it doesn't have recovery and things like that. But they don't really get a lot of crazy support options other than just being annoying with lefties and protect and seismic toss and stuff like that. Like they aren't, you know, doing anything flashy. They're just big, giant, hulking beasts, which I think this thing is going to do just from more so an attacking kind of perspective. But speaking of that, we're going to kind of jump into the first stat line, which is one I came up with. We're going with the same kind of stat spread that the Regis have, where they have two 50s, an 80, two 100s, and a 200 stat line, and their base stat total, obviously, to get up to the range that all the other ones are at. I forget the exact number. But regardless, I went with an idea of this thing being really, really strong, which I think would be awesome for it, especially if it did randomly get like a grass or something like that, because this thing is just when I look at its design, especially with the with it being restrained and them talking about like how people had to like, you know, put this material on it to like calm this thing down because it was so ridiculously strong, and you know, they needed to restrain its power so it didn't go on a rampage. I could definitely see this thing rocking out with the 200 the special attack stat, especially because I think they're going to go for a more offensive route with the Regis this time, because the other ones are such big defensive behemoths, being Regirock, Registeel, and Regice. Them going with the 200 idea for the special attack could definitely make sense. I went with 100 attack to make sure it's a decent mix. I could definitely see it being decent mix, especially 80 speed. I think it will be the fastest Regi. I am leaning towards it maybe getting that 100 now that I looked. Maybe it'll get that 80 attack and 100 speed, but I think either are pretty interchangeable. 100 is for death because electric are usually pretty bulky on that side, and then 50 defense and HP because they're usually pretty frail physically and pretty frail in general. So I can see this thing, especially with this design and how flimsy and like, you know, all over the place it looks, it's definitely going to be dropping to stray earthquakes and stuff like that in my mind. Yeah, that's going to be my stat line, kind of my ideas as we transition over to the other slide. What do you think this thing will look like stat-wise?
So, as I mentioned in yesterday's video on my channel where we did Regidrago, when Owen covered his stat line, he paralleled Drago off of Registeel, and I thought that there was one way where that could realistically happen, and that's if we make Regieleki the really fast Regi, because we currently have two really ridiculously phys-def defensive Regis with one phys-def and one spdef. We have the 150 balance that is balanced on defense, and Regidrago possibly balancing on offense. So what would be left to parallel? Making Regieleki fast. Having a fast Regi would honestly be insane, and if there was any Regi to do it, it would be Regieleki. It's pure electricity, and electricity travels ridiculously fast anyway. A lot of electric types are just fast Pokemon in general. I think the only slow electrics I can think of are like Alolan Golem and then like Electros. And I can't really name many others, like at least offhand, like Ampharos would be two. But I really need to sit down and think of it. Yeah, like, okay, so I guess there are a few. But a lot of electrics are it's a generally faster type. So seeing a base 200 Regi, especially just being Regis being the pure embodiment of going overboard in one stat, like Ice's just being more like Spdef, Rocks being more Phys-Def, Steel's being just defensive, Dragons just being more offensive, and then Regieleki could just be really aggressively fast. I figured then give the 200s to the offenses to make it just neutrally offensive, and then the 50s to defense because electrics are usually really frail anyway, besides like Ampharos, Stunfisk, and a couple others. So I thought that could be really cool. Obviously with 200 speed, you would almost never need to invest that in Galliard decks. You could probably, I think, to put into perspective, with 200 base speed, if you were to put that up in like any sort of like level 50 setting, that would base, like without any sort of investment, a base 200 speed Pokemon would be hitting 220 speed, which outpaces base 80 Scarfers, which
insane.
It's insane because like base 80 Scarfers hit like 217, 218, something like that. So being able to outpace like a really common Scarf speed tier, especially this common Scarf speed tier in the Wi-Fi format, and being able to outpace stuff like Dragapult and Zeraora just with no investment at all, that's insanity. And then imagine that you're able to actually like invest that to creep like ridiculous Scarfers, like for example, like base 110 Scarfers like Latios that are coming back. That's sheer insanity how fast this could be. So that obviously on the polar strength end, I think the speed would play really well into this variant personally, especially being electric type. I think it's really the only way you could save this Pokemon. So make it happen, Game Freak. We have like 3 days. You can just rewrite your code.
Yeah, it being 200 speed would honestly be super cool. I remember I've played a little bit with Deoxys speed and draft and stuff like that, and I remember I was playing I was mocking someone that they were playing it in a recent tournament, and they were playing against Deoxys speed, and I believe their fastest Pokemon was Perugly, and I could go, and I wasn't too worried about Scarfers that matchup, and obviously when you have them on that fast, it's cool to be able to count for Scarfers, so you're gonna run some speed sometimes, but I wasn't in this particular matchup, and enough to have enough speed, and I was a mixed life orb set, so I was trying to do as much damage as possible, and to have enough speed to outspeed said Perugly at level 100, I went Brave Natured, and I had it by 1 point, and I was able to, still be ridiculously bulky, outspeed the entirety of my opponent's team, and that is 20 base speed lower than this thing, which I think really opens it up, at least maybe not in like standard as much, but at least in draft, that really helps up. Having that elite speed tier is so nice in the building process, being able to, tinker with your EVs a little bit more and go as bulky as you are, is honestly absolutely amazing. So that would be great for this Pokemon, and it would honestly be worth having it on the team just for that. You can come with gimmicky things to get past, those grounds, and you can come up with, obviously having great checks and things like that as well, while having I'm on the legit 200 base speed chilling in the back, running minus speed and outspeeding everything.
If this was to have 200 base speed and Wi-Fi, as long as it didn't get mono walled by ground types, I could definitely see it as a tier 2 Pokemon, even if it just had 100 in both offenses, because you could realistically run, as Owen said, minus speed in a lot of games in this format and still outpace Scarfers, which is insane. Or just run like no speed and just go max special attack, max attack, and just go like a minus to one of your defenses, and just, again, you'd outpace most Scarfers with no speed, which is truly insane. So I think this could have an actual niche with this sort of spread. I think if it goes more so the cliche 50 base speed Reggie spread, it's going to be garbage. Especially as an electric type, it's going to be so bad. There's no saving it.
Yeah, that's it definitely wouldn't be super ideal for it, because like I said, the electrics in this gen, definitely got shafted by the removal of hidden power more than any other type, like by far. But as for abilities, like we said, we know Transistor is its confirmed ability. I won't lie. I kind of had like some ideas on what Regidrago's ability, Dragon's Maw, might be. I really can't think of anything that Transistor might be. Maybe it's like a Lightning Rod clone or something like that, or something like an ability we already have renamed to look cool because it's a legendary, which we have had a few times in the past, I suppose. But I have honestly no idea when it comes to that. But what I do know, or what I do think, and I'm pretty confident about, is the potential hidden ability for this thing being Volt Absorb. I could definitely see this thing getting it, especially with the, like kind of electricity absorbing material on its body already, and it being an electric type. Either that or Lightning Rod, it potentially, having some way to be that Volt Switch blocker could honestly be pretty cool for it in specific matchups. If you're playing a Zeraora or something like that and you have a way to hit it back, that can honestly be really clutch for Regieleki, and it just makes a lot of sense thematically in my mind. It getting some kind of way to take in that electricity that it's kind of, mastered, or not even mastered, that it is, and kind of harness it for its own, just makes a lot of sense for me personally. What was your ability you were thinking, Liv?
Yeah, so on the Owen note, I went for a similar but different thought process with this. As a lot of the Regis usually get like really defensive abilities. Like all the defensive Regis got stuff like Clear Body for Registeel, which makes sense because it's a Steel type, and it helped just with the neutral sort of side. Regis got Ice Body, which makes sense for like recovering in hail. Regirock got Sturdy, which makes sense to help take special hits, but still, obviously, it's a really sturdy rock type. So I think with the Regieleki and Drago seeing more offensive, I think that an option like Surge Surfer would be really cool. Now, I will say that if this was on the 200 speed end, it would be a really bad hidden ability because you would never need it. You would absolutely never need it. If this is on the 50 speed option, though, or even just like Owen's Talon had 80 speed, it would be a really cool ability. I think that it could actually be a really, really nice saving grace for this Pokemon, because even if you were to have like a base speed like 50, Cliche Regi, etc., you could probably just run this on a Scarf option. And I know the Scarf into Surge Surf sounds a little excessive until you think about its base 50 speed. You're not going to outpace much even at +2, so you'll probably want to Scarf at that point. And just spam Rising Voltage, because if it was to get the extreme stat as the 200 special attack, you're going to nuke everything, even with just a Scarf. You could click like Timid Scarf and outpace everything with the Surge Surfer plus the Scarf. And with 140 base power, plus the terrain boost, plus your 200 special attack, plus stab, that's going to still nuke a lot of things. And you're going to have the really nice speed to buff it. So I think Surge Surfer could be the only other saving grace. And it plays into the options like Magnet Rise and Electric Train for status options. So I think that could actually be really cool for it. Only other hidden ability I could have seen was Levitate. However, I don't think it benefits the status move pool personally this any bit whatsoever. So that's why I went with Surge Surfer.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see it. That would actually be, and it would make a lot of sense too, especially with this thing being above the ground. So like, I definitely can see this thing, if and not like super fast in its base stats, at least having some way of getting very, very fast. Because again, when you think of electricity, you think lightning and speed and stuff like that. And just fast travel in general. But I think that could make a lot of sense for sure. But that should be just about everything with Regieleki. Another pretty straightforward mon, despite us not really knowing much about it. It's pretty easy to predict what these things do. If you haven't seen the Regidrago episode up on the channel, go over there and watch that one. It went up yesterday, and like I said, the Calyrex episode will be up tomorrow, so go over there and watch that one. So definitely go drop a sub. Drop a sub here if you haven't done so already. It's really easy, it's completely free, and I'd really appreciate it. We got a lot of content planned for the Crown Tundra, lots of draft and Wi-Fi battles and a bunch of things like that, Pokemon related. So if you enjoy that's your kind of thing, definitely drop a sub. Liv, do you have any parting words?
I'm really, really hoping that the Regis don't suck, because they look really cool, but they're gonna suck.
Yeah, these and Articuno are all gonna be bad. But they're gonna look cool, and they're gonna, you're gonna draft them in tier 4, and it's gonna.
I'll draft them anyway, but like, I'll draft them anyway. They're gonna suck.
Yeah.
For the thumbnail.
Of course. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.